quickly. So our topic, cyber threats, go background, fix it. Okay, the Carondelet here, the website. So we do put past meeting recordings in the handouts and things like that. And what that looks like is, let's go out here. So out on the Carondelet website, there is a link called Tech Help. And the Tech Help, there's calendars, resources, and the calendar will show these presentations, the Fix It. It also shows the one-on-one tutoring. So if you want to call down to the front desk to schedule them, I list in here. Like they're today at 6 to 8 p.m. there's one-on-one tutoring, and then on Thursday usually 1 to 3. But with Thanksgiving, it looks like the person doing that, they'll start up again in December there. And then the resources, as I mentioned, if you missed a meeting or want to revisit a meeting, I have some of the past meetings here, and you can watch the video or you can get a handout from the meeting also. So just a little resource for you there. Okay, let's talk about scams and cyber threats. In the classical musical production, the Music Man, the con man, Harold Hill, frightens the townsfolk into believing that they've got trouble. Trouble right here in River City. Once he has them quaking in their boots, he's right there with a solution for a price. He's going to sell them band uniforms, and he's going to get the kids on track. And so we've always had these scams and people trying to trick us out of money and things like that. Grifters and con men will show up everywhere. Unfortunately, they're also in the world of technology. So in our computers and our telephones, and you see them all over. There are many types of scams that try and convince you to send money or enable access to your financial accounts. They want to get access to that so that they can take money out. Scammers today use telephone calls, they use emails, they use text messages, they use websites, they use pop-up ads, and they even use the postal mail. Unfortunately, most scams don't have a happy ending like the movie. So it isn't the Music Man and everybody's happy at the end. It usually ends with somebody losing either a small amount of money or a large amount of money. And hopefully with the tips and things today, we'll all be better protected there. So first let's talk about some of the most common scams. And the most common scam is what's called phishing. And phishing is making something appear like something that it isn't. And so they use official looking emails, a telephone call, a website, saying that your account has a problem or it's been hacked or will be shut down immediately. And they get the victims to click on a link or call or open an attachment to get access to your account, password, and financial information. So this is just a little example here. You may see a pop-up or an email from your bank, and it's saying, "Dear valued customer, you have received notice that you recently attempted to withdraw the following amount from your checking account while in another country, $135.25. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to click on some of this stuff or to call a telephone number that they may have, when the reality is you don't have a problem with your account. But they're just trying to put fear in you to get you to react there. When you do get a call like that, a call or an email or that, hang up and don't click on any link. So it's best to do nothing. Use an alternative method to contact the company that sent you the email or attempted to call you and ask if your account has been compromised. So if it's your bank, you should have the phone number of your bank, call the real phone number of the bank, and you can ask them if there's a problem with your account. Don't click on an email, don't click on a pop-up, don't click or don't answer somebody on the telephone saying we think that your account has been compromised. You don't want to start doing what they're telling you to do, or you'll just be giving them more information that they can then steal money from you. If you don't know the name or the telephone number of the bank or that you've been dealing with, check a past bill or a statement. That usually has contact information on there of a telephone number that you can use to contact them. Okay, the second most common scam is what's called tech support scams. And in this case, you receive an unexpected call, so it could be a call on the phone saying, this is Apple support, we've noticed that your machine has been compromised, we can help you if you do these things. Or it may be something that pops up on your computer or your phone or that as a message box saying that you're warning you that there's an issue. You may have a virus or malware, or your device is not protected. The virus is run out and needs to be renewed. The caller or pop-up claims to be from tech support and usually will ask for access to your computer to fix the issue. Typically, the scammer will ask you to type a specific command to enable this access. Once they have control of your computer, they may require payments for technical assistance or sell you subscriptions to stuff that you don't need. They may also install malicious software, change some settings on your computer to make it vulnerable, and try and sell you unneeded software or ask you to log into your bank account to steal financial information. The tip here, beware of scammers impersonating as tech support company, a fraud department, or a government agency. Never give them control of your computer or your login information, your password or account. Okay, another common scam is what's known as the friend or family member imposter. So you receive a call or an email from somebody that appears to be legitimate because the scammer knows specific information about you, the names of family members, your name, where you live, things like that. And so they know information about your family and friends. The scammers try and trick you into believing that they are a friend or family member claiming to need money for an emergency, such as posting bail. It could be a grandchild who is supposedly been arrested, and to get out of jail, they need your help. And they didn't call their parents because they didn't want their parents to know there. And so they're calling you if you can help them out there. And so could be instead of posting for bail, they could be in the hospital and need some money there. Or they could be detained at an airport and trying to get on a plane and need some money sent to them. Scammers pressure you to send money immediately, so they try and prey on people to send it. I need it immediately, I'm really in trouble, and things like that through an online wire or other payment service. The tip there is don't ever give them any money, but try and contact your friend or family member directly to confirm the caller's story, because most of the time it's just somebody trying to scam you to gain access to your accounts or your money there. Another one is called the IRS scam. This, you receive a phone call claiming to be the IRS that you owe them money. They demand that you pay immediately or you'll be arrested. So that gets a lot of people upset, thinking that the police are going to come and get them. Well, the IRS never calls or demands money or gift cards, so that's always false. And again, don't hang up on them or don't do anything there. Another scam is online dating. Scammers use online dating sites, social network, chat rooms to meet potential victims. They create fake profiles. Profiles have pictures of people, and oh, they are serving in the army, and they have kids and things like that. And they use these profiles to build relationships with people and eventually request money either for their family or for some hardship that they've run into. Again, don't give out personal information, account numbers, passwords, or send them any money or give them credit card information. So be very careful who you deal with. Another scam is what's called the online loan scam. So beware of loan offers on social media and online ads. So it'll pop up and it'll say, oh, we'll help you with a student loan, or we'll help you with the mortgage on your house, or things like that. We can reduce the payments there. It usually is a scammer impersonating a loan company who is looking to empty your bank account once you share your financial data. Watch out for warning signs such as lenders demanding a prepaid debit card or pressuring you to act immediately. When applying for a loan, if you do need to apply for a loan, go to a trusted website. Don't click on any links or ads or emails or telephone calls that you may receive. Okay, another scam is what's called ransomware. That's where you unknowingly may have clicked on something or downloaded a type of software to your computer. That software is designed to block access to your operating system and all the information on the computer. So it locks your computer where you can't do anything unless you pay a sum of money to one of these online criminals. So the ransom, it's holding your computer ransom until you pay a fee. And these ransom attacks, it's not just individuals. If you've seen on the news, a number of cities and government agencies have been affected by this, where they've they've had to pay millions of dollars in ransom fees to get access to their computers there. Again, you don't want to be clicking on things, and you want to be very careful. Another tip, though, is if you have data, information, documents that you've created, you want to make sure all that stuff is backed up, because if you don't pay the ransom, you aren't going to get access to your computer. But if you've got your data backed up, it's possible to reset your computer, and if you've got your files and your data, you could reload that in. And yes, it took a little bit of time, but you didn't lose any money and you didn't lose any of your data there. So backing up your computer or that can be a very important thing there. Okay, another scam, it's called the lottery or sweepstakes. You receive a telephone call, an email, or a letter stating that you've won the lottery or a sweepstakes. Scammers require you to pay a fee to receive the prize to avoid taxes or additional fees, or may even threaten to report you to the IRS or police if you don't make the requested payment. Legitimate lotteries pay taxes directly to the government rather than being reimbursed from winners' proceeds. So that's kind of the tip. If they ask for any kind of money, it's a scam. Another one is check or account deposit scam. This is where scammers send you a fake check or make a deposit into your account. Once the money is deposited, you are asked to send all or part of the money that they deposited back to this person. After you send the money back, you find out that the check bounced or the deposit was fraudulent because you are responsible for the full amount of the check you deposited and the associated check fees if it bounces. And it can take up to 10 days for a bank to figure out that this was a bad check. And in the meantime, you've sent them the money, they've got their money back, and you're going to be out whatever money that you sent them there. Okay, it's easy to feel that all scams and threats are beyond hope, but don't give up hope. We talked about a few tips in that. We'll talk about some more tips here. Here are some tips to protect yourself. Be wary of a get-rich-quick schemes, huge discounts, or low prices. They're almost always a scam. If an offer seems too good to be true, it probably is. Don't click on it. Don't attempt to follow some of these things. Watch for language that creates unnecessary urgency action. So all of these scammers want to kind of bombard you with information and get you worried and anxious so that you'll give them a credit card or you'll give them the information and you have to act right now. Their goal is to get you to act first without thinking or talking to somebody else and saying, is this a scam or that? They want to get you right away there. Don't send money or give your account information to anyone you don't know. So if somebody calls on the phone, or they say they're from the bank, or they say they're from a Target Corporation or Amazon, don't give them any information. Be wary of unexpected requests for payments of goods, service, or a fee through any form of communication. Don't send money back to somebody who's provided you that check or overpayment of goods and services. That was that last scam we talked about where they send you into your account, it looks like you've got $500, and then you get a call or an email that says, oh, I accidentally sent you $500, could you send that back to me? And people will send that back thinking the person just made a mistake, but what happens is a week later, that $500 that you thought was in your account, that bounces, and the person, you're held responsible for the $500 there. So you've just lost $500 thinking that you're the good citizen of sending back somebody's mistake there. Use secure websites and apps for payments and shopping, and only buy from merchants that you trust. So if somebody says, I've got a brand new computer and I'm selling them for $50, and you click on it and they ask you for your credit card or your bank checking account, that's a scam. Somebody trying to get, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. If it's a telephone call, don't trust your caller ID, or if it's an email, don't trust the email address, because those caller IDs and the email addresses can be faked or what they call spoofed to show anything that the criminal wants it to show. So they can make it look like this call is coming from Apple support or Microsoft support or the IRS or Wells Fargo Bank or U.S. Bank. They can make it look like it came from any of those, whether it's an email or a telephone call. So just because it looks like it came from a business that you do business with, it doesn't mean that it really did. Another thing you should do is keep security patches and antivirus software on your computers and your internet browsers, and if you have a mobile phone, you want to make sure that stuff is up to date, because the more out of date the software is, it could be vulnerable for these viruses and things to take over your computer. Don't automatically download any attachments. Be sure to turn off this setting. There's settings that can be turned in your email so that stuff isn't automatically downloaded. And when we talked about some of the email settings, I mentioned it in there, the setting that can be turned off so that you're not automatically downloading things. Okay, some more tips. Don't click on links or open an attachment or click on a pop-up or provide sensitive information through a suspicious email or message. So if something pops up on the screen and you're not sure if it's a scam, chances are it is a scam. So even if the sender appears to be a reputable company or somebody you know, access the company's website by using a reputable search engine, an old bookmark that you may have, and any password manager that you may have. Never give control of your computer to anyone who contacts you. So if they claim to be from Apple support or Microsoft support, don't give them control of your computer. Chances are they'll install additional software or attempt to get your passwords and accounts. Don't rely on caller ID. Spammers can spoof. We mentioned that a little bit earlier, the name of the company, to make it seem like the call is coming from the IRS, the local police, your bank. So be very careful there. Never pay or donate using a gift card. Frequently these scammers will ask for gift cards or prepaid cards. They'll also might use an app called Zelle or Venmo or cryptocurrency. Those are all kind of tips that they're potentially a scam there. Now you can protect your passwords, and you want to use long passwords when you're accessing these different sites. So if you do have bank accounts and you do have, you're buying from Amazon, and you go out to Facebook or you go to various sites and you have accounts and passwords, you want to have very secure accounts and passwords. And that means that you should be using what's called strong passwords, which make it impossible for hackers to guess. You don't want to use family names, telephone numbers, birth dates, or other social information that can be found in a number of places on the internet. I also recommend using a password manager. So there's these things called password managers, and they can keep track of your passwords and fill it in then when you go to the site. And that would mean that you'd only have to really remember one password to get into your password manager. You wouldn't have to remember the 10, the 20, or 100 accounts and passwords that for all the different sites that you may have. Okay. Another tip is to enable what's called two-factor authentication, 2FA. This is where a bank may send you a second form of authentication. Could be a text message, could be a telephone call, or could be an email. And I mentioned here it's especially important for financial and banking sites. So this is an example here. I have an Ally account, and whenever I access the Ally account, I get a text message and I have to put in this code. But they can send the code to your email, or they can give you a call on your regular telephone if you don't have a capability of a text message. But it notifies you that somebody is trying to access the account, and if the scammer that doesn't have this code, they can't get into your bank account and can't do anything. So the two-factor authentication is a way to add an extra level of security to protect your account. Okay, this is another way that you can protect yourself by using a mobile-based payment system. Like if you use a smartphone, your smartphone, you may have heard of Apple Pay or Android Pay. And instead of using credit cards when you go to stores, you can usually pay with one of these apps. What that does then is that does not expose your credit card information to these various stores. So this, if somebody breaks into the store and sees credit card numbers, they aren't going to have your credit card number and they aren't going to be able to make fraudulent charges to your credit card. So they end up being more secure than a physical credit card that might be stolen. PayPal is another way of doing this online where instead of providing your credit card to companies and stuff like that, you're going through PayPal, and so somebody doesn't have direct access to your credit card. You can watch your credit card or bank statements for unexpected charges and payments. Most of the banks now or credit unions will let you turn on alerts and notifications from your bank, your brokerage, and credit cards, so that whenever there's a charge or anything there, you get an email or you get a text message that tells you what happened. So this is an example here. I have a Fidelity credit card, and every time I make a charge, it tells me whenever there's a charge that has been made. So if I see it and I go, I don't recall making this charge, I can immediately notify Fidelity that somebody may be illegally using my card, or there's a fraudulent charge out there. So, and if you don't want to see all of the, if you have a whole bunch of charges or checks or things like that, you can usually set limits on what alerts you'll see. So if you only want to see the items that are over $100, you can do that. If you want to see all the transactions, even if it's $1, you can see all the transactions there. Okay, another thing you can do is you can request one free credit report a year from each of the 3 credit services. So there's 3 major credit services in the United States: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And you can request one of these reports once a year there from each of the 3. You can look for unusual activity, such as somebody trying to get a new credit card or create a new account. So this is a way to keep informed of what's going on out there. You can space out the 3 requests so that you get them every 4 months from a different service. So it's kind of handy to monitor if anyone is trying to open new accounts in your name on any of these, with any of these credit cards. Another thing you can do with these 3 services is you can actually freeze your credit to stop anyone from opening up a new credit card or requesting loans or services in your name. So you can go out to the Experian, the Equifax, or the TransUnion, and you can put this lock or freeze on your on the ability to take out a new loan or a credit card. Now, if in the future you are going to be buying a car or you want to get a new credit card, you can unfreeze. There's ways to unfreeze this to get your loan or get your new car. So this isn't totally stopping everything, but now you control if anyone can create any new credit cards using your name and personal information. Another thing you can do, you can check and see if your information has been stolen. This is a site that I recommend. It's called haveibeenpawned.com. Pawned is an internet slang term used to describe defeat. Have I been defeated? It provides a comprehensive list of most of the major data breaches that are out there. So you may be doing everything correctly, securing all your information and stuff like that, but let's say you made a purchase down at Lund's at the grocery store, and thieves got access to Lund's credit card information and got access to your credit card and potentially could make charges there. Well, you can see whether your information might have been compromised by going out to this site. And we'll just go out here. Let me click on this. Yeah. So this site, you put in your telephone number or your email. Well, my email is tckreuzr@gmail.com. And you'll see it says, oh no, you've been pawned. And I show up on at least 7 data breaches. And I've been very careful and I know what to do, but I have no control over if somebody breaks into one of these other companies and steals information. So I can be as careful as I want. These other companies are the ones that were broken into, and when they broke into, this lists the various ones that this was done in March of 2015. Here's one here. Exactus in 2016, LinkedIn was broken into, and it kind of tells you what data they stole. So they stole, in this case, email addresses and passwords. This one they stole email addresses, names and passwords, white pages. Here's one. Have you been scraped? Email address, potentially employers, geographic information, job titles, names, social media profiles. And so this site will kind of give you an idea of if your email has been involved in a data breach somewhere. And almost everybody's email has been involved in these data breaches. So like I say, I'm very careful, but you can be as careful as you can be because the thieves ended up breaking into these other companies which had my accounts and passwords and data out there. And the way to, once you have a data breach, if somebody does get access, let's say most of these you'll see there's passwords. Well, what you should immediately do if you're aware of a data breach is you should change the password so that somebody can't use this old password that they have. So if you change the password, they won't have access to it. Also, you don't want to be using the same password on this LinkedIn site as on your bank account. So a lot of people use one password for multiple sites. Well, that just makes it easier when there is a data breach. Somebody can try and use that same password on your bank accounts and on these Amazon and on these other accounts. So you don't want to be using the same passwords on all these different accounts. Okay. This is a little tip here. If you use the browser Google Chrome, there's a extension or a little piece of software that can be added, which is called Password Checkup, which will tell you if your passwords have already been hacked, and it looks at username and passwords that you're putting into a site and warns you if that data has already been exposed in a data breach somewhere. So this is just a little helper to kind of warn you that you better change your password because it's already out on the dark web or it's already been hacked, that account and password. Okay, another thing you can do is you can sign up for credit monitoring services. These are services that constantly monitor your credit report from the major credit bureaus and alert you when it detects unusual activities. To help with the monitoring, you can set up fraud alerts that notify you if someone is trying to use your identity to create an account. Credit reporting service like LifeLock, you may have seen them on TV and radio ads and things like that. That service can cost between $10 and $30 a month, or there are free services out there too from Credit Karma that will do some credit monitoring for you for free there. So there's various ways to keep track of some of these things. Some more tips: make sure you have antivirus installed on your computer, whether it's a PC or a Mac, and that it's being updated and it's configured correctly. Keep your operating system and the software that you have on your phone and computer, keep all that up to date. Old versions do have vulnerabilities, so if you haven't updated in 5 years or 10 years, your machine is more vulnerable than somebody who's keeping it up to date there. For your tablet or phone, never download apps unless you download and install them from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, because these sites have screened the apps to make sure that they don't contain viruses. But if you click on a link in an email, or you get a link that says, oh, this is a fabulous new app, click on this to download it, you could be downloading a virus or something that's trying to steal your passwords. Be mindful of every app you install and what permissions you give it to your data files, your contacts, and your photos. Laptops, you can encrypt your laptop and use a password to log in. That way, if somebody steals the laptop or gains access to it, they won't have access to all your accounts. Yes? Yeah, I'll repeat it there. Windows 11, if you have a PC or laptop there, if you install Windows 11 on there, part of one of the features in Windows 11, it will secure your hard drive and encrypt it so that if it is stolen or that, you will be protected and somebody can't take the hard drive out of the computer or attempt to do things. So you're correct there. No, that's untrue. I mean, the way it works is when you install Windows 11, there's additional security. When you set up the additional security, you decide how you're going to be able to get into your computer. And most people, you put in an email account there, and then you'd have this second form of backup. That could be a text message to you, it could be another email account, but you set up these multiple ways so that if you forget your password, you don't want to be locked out of your machine. So you need another way. But as long as you know your password and have set up these ways to, if you forget your password, you're always going to be able to get into your computer. It's just if somebody steals it, doesn't know the password, doesn't know the things, they aren't going to be able to get at any of the information. Yeah, there's misinformation out there, because if what you said was true, where once you install Windows 11, people wouldn't be able to use their computer at all. Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier with the ransomware, where if you give somebody permission to your computer, they can go in and they can hold your computer for ransom, and you can't do anything to it. Okay, because the way that Windows 11 does work though, if you have your account and password, now if somebody steals your account and password, then I could get into your computer, I could change the password, I could change things, and you'd never be able to get access to it. But that's where somebody would have had to have stolen your account and password to get into the laptop. Yeah. No, no, no. Yeah, it can get confusing there. Windows 11 is more secure than Windows 10, and it will only run on newer machines because the newer machines have built-in capabilities for security. So, but for most people, Windows 11, if your machine is capable of running it, you want to convert to that and you want to be using it, and it will provide you with extra security. And it doesn't lock you out. As long as you have your account and password and a thief hasn't stolen it, just like today, I can get into my computer and I can do things there. Now again, this is true. This is true of any of these machines. If I forget my password or a thief goes in and changes the password, if I don't have a backup way to change it, meaning I would have had to have set up another email account, I would have had to set up a text message, a telephone number for a text message. There's various security keys that can be used. If you haven't set up any of those, for if you do forget your password, then when you forget your password or you can't get in, you're never going to be able to get into the computer. You can reset the computer as if it's a brand new machine, but you cannot get into the computer. Yeah, if you see anything or have any other questions or want to talk more, we can talk more on that. But it you'll be able to get in unless somebody steals your account and password there. Okay. Any other questions or yeah?
So, I've never used the password manager. How hard is it to get set up on the computer? Does it generate passwords?
Password manager, you can choose how to use it. You can have it generate passwords, so it can automatically generate, kind of random numbers and letters and things like that. And as long as it's always putting them in for you, you don't have to write it down. You don't have to know even what the password is. To use it, it's a case of let's do this. I'm gonna jump over here. Where am I here? Yeah, and I mean,
You have to go to each site and reset your password.
it can automatically change the passwords for you. So it has that capability. It keeps track of the history of passwords, what you've used and stuff like that. Uh, uh, Now, do you have a smartphone and a tablet or any other devices, or is it just a computer? Okay. The more devices you have, then it's actually more important to have a password manager because it's harder to keep everything in sync or know what you have. These password managers, I recommend a password manager called Bitwarden. It's a free package that will work on all devices, the Apple devices, Microsoft devices, phones, tablets, laptops, desktops, and it'll keep everything in sync. Once you're set up, and it takes a little bit to get set up.
Hours, days.
Well, if you're first starting out, all you do is download the software and get it on the computer. Then once it's on the computer, so here it is, it's installed on my computer here. I'm in a Chrome browser here. When I'm in the Chrome browser, there's an icon here that says Bitwarden, and it says Bitwarden has access to this site. But I'm not logged into Bitwarden. So I do have to know the one password to get into my password manager. Once I get into it, then it's a case of I can, as I log into other sites, so let's say I was a brand new user, I had never done things before, as I start logging into other sites, it'll ask me, do you want to save this account and password? Otherwise, I can manually go in and put in, if I have a bunch of old accounts and passwords that I've used, I can put in those things too, but it starts learning when you go out to this site, this is the account and the password that you use to get into that site. And it'll let you in there. And if you ever have to look at the stuff manually, you can. So here's a case of Carondelet Village. Because I have access to update their website, I have an account and a password out there for that. You wouldn't have one, but for me to make edits out there, I need this account and password. Now, I can take a look at the information that's out there. So if I just wanted to see what it is, well, there's my username. This is the website that it's associated with. I can actually put all kinds of other information about this site, but to log in, I really don't need much of anything there. And so when it comes for me actually logging into it, all I have to do is click on it, and it'll automatically log me in. And if I want to change the password, it's a case of, well, it's not auto-filling here.
So let's say about your passwords for websites. What about your device?
It does.
Password you need to know about.
I do. Not necessarily for apps on your smartphone and tablets and things like that. It can automatically fill things in for most of them. Not every app and every deal, but most of them it can fill in. So as an example, U.S. Bank, a banking app on the phone. Well, if I have Bitwarden on my phone, I log into that, and then it can log in using the U.S. Bank app into the U.S. Bank there. So it's a little bit of a learning, but you're not going to sit down and spend hours and hours. You just add them in one at a time as you go along, your passwords. Before you know it, literally, I'm more unusual in that I have a lot of sites and accounts and that. I probably have 120 different passwords and things. But you can also put in other information in here. If you've ever been out to websites and you've had to put in your name and your address and your phone number and things like that, this can automatically fill in that information for you. And so you can have multiple profiles for that too. So it's a case of you can have that set up. Okay? And if you have more questions on passwords, maybe we can talk offline or at another time. But they really are valuable. They can save you a ton of time. And then you don't have to have Post-its or I can be anywhere on any of my devices and get access to this information.
I'm thinking if something happened to me and what's easiest for my kids, and I'm thinking I really should be using passwords.
Yeah, there's
I
a,
would like them to be able to get in there.
right. Yeah, and if you want, we could maybe talk a little later on that because there actually are sites specifically for that. So there's this site where you can do your wills and your powers of attorney, but also your accounts and passwords. And if there's so you can designate certain people get notified upon your death, and then they'll get access to this site, which you would have kept all your information on. Yeah. Yeah, the way that password managers work, the passwords in that that are stored and the information that's stored is not is only accessible on each device. It isn't stored up on the cloud. So it isn't like these other data breaches where Best Buy was broken into. Well, Best Buy was broken into because they didn't have their data encrypted and it was up on a major site there. They broke into the site, they had access to all this data, just like looking at a telephone book, names and numbers, it's all visible. Plus, at Best Buy, there's even now that they've encrypted things and stuff like that, there's people at Best Buy that administrators of their websites and that have access to the data. So as long as somebody at the company has access to the data, that's a potential security breach. These password managers, nobody has access to the data except me. So if I forget my password to get into my password manager, I can't call anybody. There's nobody to call because there's nobody that can reset my password to my password manager there. And that's the way it should be because you don't want a rogue employee at this company to copy everyone's passwords and then gain access to stuff. So they are, these password managers are like 100 times more secure than all these other websites and stuff like that in the way that they handle passwords and data and where it is. It depends. Again, you can set up. There's other security that you can set up to be notified whenever there's transactions and things like that. So whenever in my PayPal account, whenever there's any debit or a credit of anything, I get notified immediately. And if I didn't make it, I'm skeptical. Now. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it will work, but certainly if your account gets hacked or things like that, bad things can happen anywhere there. But some of these other tips for getting notified when there's changes or changing passwords. So I don't, my PayPal account and any of my bank accounts, I typically change those at least once a year. So I don't use the same password that I used or had set up, from when I originally set up the account. And a lot of people reuse passwords from site to site, and that gets dangerous, because if one of these other sites is broken into, that gives people access to your bank accounts or brokerage accounts or things like that, and you don't want to have any of that. Okay. I mentioned public Wi-Fi. Some people use public Wi-Fi, and some of those you may be exposing personal information like IDs and passwords, and that's not a good thing. Nowadays, you can usually use a smartphone and set up a hotspot, and don't worry if you don't know what that means there. HTTPS, yeah. Most of the sites are now HTTPS, which is an encrypted, and that's my next statement here. If you use a public or Carondelet PC, what you want to do is you want to make sure you log off, you want to close your browser completely, and those are ways to kind of protect you there. In terms of when you use Carondelet's website here, or Carondelet Wi-Fi, but when you use Carondelet Wi-Fi, what you're also getting into is most of the websites, you look at your browser, up here, this has a padlock. That padlock means that this is an encrypted connection. So most websites nowadays are encrypted connections, which means if, even though you're using a public Wi-Fi, somebody looking at the ones and zeros passing over the Wi-Fi will not be able to tell what it is. So they won't see an account number, they won't see anything. If you go out to a website that doesn't have a padlock, that means that it's not encrypted, and it'd just be like somebody broadcasting, I just entered this for an account name, I just entered this for a password. It's somebody looking at the Wi-Fi, I could see all. There's no password required for the Wi-Fi. They could have set it up more secure, and I've actually recommended that they do. The problem with that is that would require people to use a password. Also, you should be changing that password, which would mean every time that they changed it, how many hundreds of people or all their devices would stop working if they didn't change it. So it's kind of a trade-off there. You're pretty secure here. I won't say you're as secure as it could be, but I wouldn't worry about doing my financial transactions here. So when I do a financial transaction from my phone, let's say, my phone has an extra level of security that even though I'm connected to a public Wi-Fi, nobody is ever going to be able to see anything between me and my bank. I'm just using, it's all encrypted and anyone looking at it is just going to see ones and zeros and not know what's going on. So for the most part, you're pretty safe. Where the public Wi-Fi's get to be more of a problem is where somebody is setting up a phony public Wi-Fi. So I could use my phone here, and I could tell you to connect to my phone, which would then connect you to the internet. Well, if I'm sitting between you and the internet, I can see everything that you're doing. So if I wanted to steal stuff, that would be one way, but then you'd have to connect to my phone. You wouldn't be connecting to PS Guest, the Carondelet Wi-Fi there. So hope that helps there a little bit. I think that may be accounts I mentioned here. Another way to kind of protect yourself is Gmail as an account will notify you automatically if a logon is attempted from another device that it's not familiar with. So some of these systems are smart enough to do that, and that way you can monitor if somebody is attempting to connect to your email account or to these other devices there. And this is where I mentioned it's always good to have multiple emails, because you can have one that you use when you sign up for things or for apps that don't have to be secure, and then you have one that is your main one, that is your protected one. Having this second one can save you from a lot of junk and spam and things like that out there. Phone scams, you can block numbers, hang up on them, never give account information, never send money or cards, and only answer calls from business or people in your contact list. So that's one way of if it's an important call, let the person leave a voicemail, and then you can check that and either call them back or make sure that it really is the person that they claim to be there. Facebook, nowadays, a number of people have lots of information about their birthdays and their children and their pets and things like that. Well, all that information typically is used to do password verifications and things like that. So you don't want to be sharing that. Only share it with your friends and family. Don't share it with the world there. Browsers, you can make it incognito. VPN can be used. As they say, if you're not paying for a site or an app or a service, you are the product. They are collecting information on you. These sites and services work to monetize. Be cautious when downloading. Oh, and that was it. Let me go back here. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
If you get a message on your computer saying you got a problem, many times I find I can't get that message off without turning the whole computer off. Is that the thing to do?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Do you have a PC? Is it a PC or that?
It's a desktop.
Okay, but it's running Windows?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's one way is like you said, to turn it off or that. That's kind of dramatic there. Where that message is coming from the browser that you have open. So the browser that you have open has popped up a message. It says, your machine is infected, click here or do whatever, and you can't close it. It won't let you close it. If you click on it, it just keeps coming back and you can't do anything there. One of the things that you can do, so I'm in what's called the Chrome browser here. And let me do this. So shrink this down a little bit. I can do Control, Alternate, Delete, and that brings up this screen. So hitting the three keys, Control, Alternate, Delete. I don't know if you've used that before or, okay. This is one way to turn off the machine or stuff like that too, but one of the things I can do here is I can do what's called Task Manager. This shows me what's kind of currently running on the machine here. And I've got mine a little more detail here. Let me do this. Let's see, where are we? Group by type. This is how yours will probably look. You'll see these are the things that are currently running on here. I have Microsoft PowerPoint, I have Task Manager, which is this, and I have Google Chrome. If Google Chrome is locked up, one of the things to do is I can highlight it here, and then down here you see this, it says End Task. If I do End Task, that's got rid of it. And so I didn't have to restart the computer, turn it off and turn it on. this gets rid of it, then I can go back and start it back up, and you should be able to do, go to your websites and things like that. So yeah, when you get to that point where you can't, no matter what you click on or what you type, it doesn't move away from that screen, you have to get rid of that app or close that browser there. And that can be done through the task manager, or turning it on or off. The on or off, it's going to take a few minutes to come back on and load everything up. And if you had anything else going, you might have lost some of the things that you had open there. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, thanks for coming, and stay safe. I don't want to scare people with scams and stuff like that. We just all have to be aware of what's going on and do what you can to protect yourself.
Mostly about money.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it can be a mess. Yeah, we all just have to be kind of careful. And one of the analogies I'll use too is I'll tell people, your computer or stuff like that is kind of like your house. If you leave the doors and windows open on your house and you don't bring in the newspaper, you're setting yourself up for somebody breaking into the house and stuff like that. If you do a few things to secure it, make sure you lock the doors, make sure it's tidy outside, things like that, you can protect yourself. Now, does that mean that you're never going to get broken into the house or the computer? No, because you can do everything, like I say, I can do everything right, and one of these other companies has my account and password, and if they get broken into, then the scammer or the thief has access to that information. Yeah, well, and it used to be too, without these alerts where you could get alerted right away, you'd have to wait until you got the statement for the next month. And then you'd see, oh, here's this charge, and here's a charge for, this happened to me, I think, a year ago or so on one of my credit cards. Here's a charge for cable service from a company down in Texas. Well, I didn't subscribe to that cable company. And, but because I saw it right away, I was able, it wasn't like 30 days later or 60 days later, you could get on top of it. Now, didn't mean that it was a hassle, because the only solution at that time is to close that number, get a new card and a new number, and if you had any automatic deposits or withdrawals from that card, yes, it's going to take you weeks or a month or more to get everything set back up and that going. So, yeah, stay alert and stay safe. That's kind of the best that you can do. No, I do not do that. Some people like to do that. I don't recommend it. It used to be in the old days when I first started. The computer monitors that we had were the big TV set tube monitors. Those big TV set tube monitors consumed a fair amount of electricity. So if you left that monitor on all the time, it could be costing you maybe 50 cents a day or something like that. now with these LCD screens and with the screen going black and stuff like that, power consumption isn't as much of a deal there. So
No safety problem.
no, in fact, to me, it's actually more safe to leave it on, because if you're familiar with like the Windows updates, those whenever there's new versions or bugs that have been fixed, those will automatically be downloaded and installed. Well, if you have your machine off, obviously it can't download them and install, and that just means that the next time you turn on the computer, it's going to be very slow because it's going through downloading and installing that. So if you do leave it on, those can be set so that they're updating in the middle of the night when nobody's using the computer, and that makes your computer more usable than when you want to sit down and start doing something with it. It's not bad to restart it maybe once a month or something like that. So I wouldn't attempt to keep it not turn it off at all, but maybe once a month is sufficient there to shut it down and turn it back on. But every day, I like the ability to be able to walk into my den, move my mouse, log in, and have access to it immediately. Okay, any other question? Thank you. Thank you.